Good evening. Good evening. Thank you so much for joining us for another session of Care for Cooped Up Parents here at the Kansas Children's Discovery Center. We are so excited to have a very special guest with us this evening. We have Dr. Pilar Mejía, and she is joining us from her home, but normally you can find her as the principal of Scott Dual Language Elementary School here in Topeka. Dr. Pilar is going to talk, or Dr. Mejía, I should say, is going to talk to us about so many different things tonight. We have some plans to talk all about setting up for success at home. So for parents who are out there, and I know I'm one of them too, who are looking into the summer and trying to figure out how to manage getting your kids ready for school when it's hard to have them ready for anything at home, this is a good one to tune into to get some tips from an educator who works with a lot of different kids and families and can weigh in on that. So she'll be discussing issues like safety, schedules, expectations with kids, how we can support kids at home, and also emotional well-being. Plus, she's taking your questions live. So if you have questions for her, feel free to post them right down below me here in the comments, and we will be reading those as they come along. You can post questions in English or Spanish too, so feel free to do that, and she can, of course, answer in English or Spanish. So if you've got friends out there who are Spanish-speaking families, make sure they know about this video as well, and they can feel free to ask questions too. So first, I'd like to talk just a little bit about Dr. Mejía. She has been with Topeka Public Schools since 2004, and she's served in a number of different capacities. She's been an instructional coach for teachers of English learners before, the dual language coordinator and assistant principal at Scott Dual Language Magnet, and principal at Highland Park Elementary School as well. Currently, she's serving as that principal at Scott Dual Language Magnet, which is such a wonderful school here in Topeka. We have a lot of friends who have kiddos there who just love every minute of it. And the Discovery Center has been there a number of times as well. We've brought our mobile museum out, and we have a ton of fun working with Pilar and her team. So thank you so much for that support. A little bit about her background: earned a bachelor's degree in elementary education from Washburn University. So she's a fellow Ichabod. Can we hear it for our Ichabods that are out there? Woo! Big fans of them. And her master's degree in education from the University of Kansas, and doctorate in educational leadership from K-State. So she's got something for all of you fans out there, but we'll focus on the Ichabod for tonight, given who's moderating this. She was named one of Topeka's top 20 under 40 in 2011, elementary school principal of the year in 2019 and in 2020. And she's also a published author in the article category, and was instrumental in helping lead Scott Dual Language Elementary as it became the first bilingual magnet school in Topeka, as well as the only school in Kansas that has won School of the Year Excellence in Education Award, granted by the Embassy of Spain in 2015, which is an award given to schools in the U.S. that show excellence in content and language integrated learning programs in both English and Spanish. So they are doing so many innovative things over at Scott Dual Language Magnet. It is such a great school. And those of you who are not familiar with it out there, take some time to read more about all the fascinating things they're doing at the school. Or if you have questions about it, you can post them in the comments, and Pilar will answer those for you. So we have a really fun night planned. We have a little bit of info that she'll be talking about, and then we'll take whatever questions you have. I know I have a few of them. My name is Laura, and I'm with the Kansas Children's Discovery Center. I'll be moderating and help passing questions along. But I'll start us off too. And Pilar, I'm hoping you could just tell us a little bit, specifically talking about safety in the home right now. What are some tips you have to establish routines that are good for kids wanting to be safe and families that are prioritizing that?
Thank you, Laura. Well, first of all, I want to welcome everybody to this event, and thank the Discovery Center for having me. It's always a pleasure working with the KCDC. It's an honor. Yes, so let's talk about setting routines. So taking care of ourselves and our families and friends, it helps everybody cope better in response to what's happening right now, the stresses and the uncertainty of COVID-19. And we know that our children are sensitive to what is happening in the environment, and they respond in ways that reflect how we, the adults around them, respond. So when we respond in a calm and confident and proactive way, we families can provide for them a better environment for them to feel more at ease. So in that regard, creating a clean and a safe environment for them, following the recommendations from the Department of Health and the CDC, it is very important. So some of those things include cleaning and disinfecting your home, creating routines with the children, making it fun. We as adults can teach and model and practice with our children appropriate and preventative measures that include hand washing. For example, you know how the recommended time is 20 seconds. Well, I had to think, you know, what is 20 seconds when you wash your hands? So I heard that the ABC song was one, and believe it or not, I do the 20 seconds with that song, and I have like A, B, C, D, E, F, G. HIJK is the sum, and I go on, and I have a routine on how to wash my own hands. Yeah, I do. And I crack myself up because I'm like, man, if people knew what's in your head, they would think you're a lunatic, but it's okay. No problem. I'll take it as long as I'm safe. Um, I know that there are like row, row, row your boat. They have changed the lyrics. So Google them if you want to engage your kids in fun ways to wash your hands that are long enough, or Frere Jacques, or Mulberry Bush. If you're happy and you know it, there are so many songs out there that kids can engage in for the length of time to wash your hands in a safe way. Also, sanitizing surface areas, getting enough nutrition and rest, exercise, limiting or balancing screen time is also important. Um, and considering ways to share appropriate information in ways that is age appropriate for students in comprehensible ways so that they know what is happening and help children understand what the situation is, because whether we want it or not, they are getting information. So who better than from us? And they worry and they feel emotions. So another way for us to set routines and provide safety for our kids is validating by acknowledging what the children are feeling and showing empathy, and then moving forward with our day in a calm manner. Um, but, you know, saying things like, you know, sweetie or honey or whatever, I worry too, or I feel that way too. And when I do, I find somebody that I trust to talk to, and I do my best. And then I find something that I enjoy to do, and that helps me get my mind off of things, but not pretending that things are not happening, just providing that safety and validating and acknowledging.
Mhm. That can be so hard. You know, parents, we feel so uncertain. I think many of us do. And so we want to, I think a lot of us feel pressure to project a lot of certainty and everything's fine onto our kids. But
Yeah,
I don't know how realistic that is. If children are picking that up, maybe it's better to be honest in an age appropriate way. I think that's a great tip. I was putting my
absolutely.
daughter to bed a few nights ago, and she broke my heart. She said something like, things were better before the virus, and I feel like things just keep getting worse. And
Oh,
that's a really hard thing for a parent to hear. But boy, she was sharing honesty with me in a way that was
how
really important.
perceptive.
Yeah. So, but it was tough to put my emotions aside and not just want to instantly say everything's fine, right?
But you
So
know,
I
that's a
appreciate that
great,
reminder.
that is a great example, because um, we should not try to, it's a huge deal what is happening, and we
Mhm.
ought not to pretend like things are normal or the way they used to be. So, you know, we are humans too, and we are feeling things too. It's not
Mhm.
about denying, but it's also not about living in that feeling and living in that space of fear and of yuckiness. It's about acknowledging, and I hear you, and let's find something fun to do, and discussing it. And like you said, age appropriate terms, because it is important so that things don't get bottled up and then get ugly inside,
Right. Right. Absolutely. Absolutely. A reminder for those of you who are tuning in, I see we have a number of viewers out there, that you can ask Dr. Mejía your questions at any time. So post those in the comments. We do have one shout out to give, because I see Caitlin Alegria out there, and she says, "Hi, Dr. Mejía."
Hi, Caitlin.
Caitlin, it's good to see you, and we really miss having you and Marcus and the little Marcus over at the Discovery Center, and I know they miss you guys at Scott too. So we'll look forward to having you guys back out in the community. They're an awesome supporter of the Discovery Center, that family. So we'll be happy to see them again soon, I hope. But it's good to see you, and thanks for tuning in. So if anybody else has questions or comments, feel free to share those. But Dr. Mejía, I wonder if you want to talk a bit about, we referenced safety and the importance of that. Can you add some information about schedules and how parents and families can maintain those, especially now in the summer when that is hardest?
Yes, for sure. All right. So, in creating those routines for keeping our families safe, another priority is creating that new normal for the home. So the routines come with creating a set time to wake up and then to eat breakfast, and then setting the time for a morning instructional time or a learning block, then finding a time to socialize with people outside your home, your immediate family, maybe, and this is virtually, obviously, with cousins or friends that you would have normally during the summer, but that is now complicated to do. So find that time to continue to socialize and build upon those social skills. Then fit in your lunchtime, then come back to that instructional time and learning block, then maybe get active, do exercise or and whatnot, some fun dancing, I don't know, then do a dinner time together, and find then some time to do recreational or leisure, and then bedtime. So what this does is it creates a predictable structure, and which is really, really important for children and for adolescents. We know predictability provides a feeling of safety for not just children and adolescents, but for adults as well. And in this particular time of uncertainty, it is really relevant. And every time we turn on the TV or hear the news, we have something different, either from the federal, the state, or the community. Directives are new. So it also buffers that and provides some sense of normalcy for all families. It also safeguards against too much screen time. It supports engagement in a positive way. It fosters productive activities instead of focusing solely on the concerns of the pandemic. In addition to all this, these regular and predictable routines can help maintain adequate sleep for the family, the nutrition and exercise that are key to maintain a family healthy, calm down anxieties that all this might be generating in different family members. It can also set limits with social media and other news outlets. And like we discussed earlier, though it is important for families to communicate about what's going on, about the social distancing and quarantine and isolation if somebody's ill, too much access might be overwhelming for people.
That's such a good point. And I have to ask a really blunt question about that
Mhm.
because I know what you are saying is truth, that kids need routine and that they do better and they are emotionally healthy when they have routine. But to be blunt, why do they suck at it so much? Like why I know with my kids we have a lot of built-in structure and routine, but I feel like sometimes I am really battling them to get them to eat dinner on time and not be running off and doing something else, or to go to bed at a reasonable hour, or it's time to do this. Those transition times are super challenging. I know some of that is developmental. Again, my kids are 5 and 2, but it sometimes can be hard as a parent to keep that routine in place when you feel like your kids are pushing back against that so much. What's going on there?
Well, and I might jump to things I was going to discuss later, but it may have to do with several
Sorry.
things. One, buy-in.
Uh-huh.
When kids and parents, just like with teachers, when we adults and children help create these expectations together, then it might help them have more buy-in and more interest in what's happening. Also, you know, every time a student, we're talking about that behavior specific praise, every time that a student does something well, meets an expectation, and it takes a lot of that repetition of behavior specific praise. It starts, that begets more desire to continue following those expectations. It's work on the part of the adult, but it's something that children, and I mean adults too, but children really crave to be praised in a very specific way. For example, thank you so much for coming to the table at the at dinner time.
Okay.
Um, um, I really love how you, whatever the specific behavior is, I'm so proud of you for, and doing that on a constant basis, so that they are always, hearing that, and it's like, wow, I feel proud of myself. I feel important. I feel acknowledged. I feel noticed. And it's about things that they can control versus, oh, you look so pretty today. I mean, yes, that's cute and important for some to hear, but you want to provide that behavior specific praise on things that they can control. Um, Another thing is choice. Giving students choice is really, really important. So, if instead of getting into a power struggle, it could be, mm, Johnny, do you want to eat dinner now, or do you want to eat dinner in 15 minutes? And you have to be okay with whatever choice you provide for your child, so as to not get into a disagreement, or an uncomfortable struggle. Um, and that way, the child's like, well, I have some control here, and I'm gonna, I have the power, when really you have the control, but it's something that everybody will win from this.
Mm-hmm.
So providing choice, is a simple and effective way to support completing not only an academic task, but a chore or any other commitment. So those are two things that might help with why they suck at it.
I got it. I say that with all the love towards my children in the
Oh,
world, of course, but
no
bottom
need to
line,
explain.
I kind of suck at it sometimes, and it's really tough. Um,
And you know what, Laura? Another tip while we're here is,
yeah.
in this topic, is pre-correction. So
Okay.
pre-correction is about, it's a proactive strategy. It's very simple. It takes little time, but you talk to the kid, and you say, "Hey, so give me an example. Is it dinner time? What's the struggle?"
Yeah, dinner time, like running off when it's time for dinner, or I'll sit in my chair at dinner, but I'm gonna like spin around in my chair. This is especially my 5-year-old, shocker. And grab things and just be engaged in all sorts of, I'm not going to drink my milk. I'm going to spin the cup around and see what happens. We encourage experimentation, of course, but not so much with the open cup of milk at the dinner table. So that kind of stuff, just constant distractions instead of focusing on what it's time to do.
Okay. So pre-correction is about what's your child's name?
She's Amelia.
Amelia.
Mm-hmm.
Hey, Amelia, this is before dinner time. Okay. Amelia, and you gather the little one too. Hey guys, so in a measure of time that they have good concept of, in 2 minutes, it's going to be dinner time. Remember that at dinner time, we expect you to sit at the table, eat your dinner. We're going to and I jumped ahead, but then I'll go back to the precursor to this conversation. We're going to use positive language. We're not going to spin the chair. We're not going to spill the milk. We're going to sit this way, and we're going to this, that, and the other. So that's the pre-correction. It's setting them up for success before the behavior happens. It's a kind of a cheerleading, I believe in you situation, so that they also feel like they can be successful. Remember that. But there has also been a lot of behavior specific praise throughout all of the things. So it's a compounding kind of interaction with the children that builds and that works.
And is that a strategy that teachers use in the classroom as well? So if we're doing it at home, does it help prepare kids for what they'll see at school?
So I want to give a full disclosure about everything that I'm talking about today is from CI3T. And CI3T is a fancy term to talk about a 3-tiered model that all of Topeka Public Schools uses, which blends the social, emotional, the behavioral, and the academic aspects of a child. And a huge component of CI3T is the home and school connection. Actually, everything we do CI3T has a parent component. So the connection between school and home is critical, because we cannot do things at school when we don't have that component from home. So, something that I want to talk to you guys about in a little bit is, the matrices that we use for setting expectations for students, so that you can do that pre-correction in very specific ways, because you have already set those expectations with the children, which in turn give them that buy-in, because one, you've done it as a team. So if the child has helped create an expectation, you can use but Amelia, remember that, right?
Yeah, absolutely. Well, before we go on and talk more about expectations, which I'd like to, a couple more shout outs. We've got Nikki on the call that says, we love Dr. Mejía. Nikki,
I love you guys.
We have Hugo that says, hola, Dr. Mejía and Laura.
Hola, hola, Leo. ¿Cómo estás?
So we have lots of your, I think some of your families from Scott who are your fans, and also some of our Discovery Center families. And we love seeing all of you out there, live viewers. Thank you so much. Give us a shout out in the comments or ask questions. We'd love to hear your thoughts or opinions about what's going on. Maybe share with us some ways that you set expectations at home. If you have some ideas that have worked, throw those in the comments. We'd love to talk about those too, and help share wisdom between parents. So more on expectations. Pilar, is there more info you want to share on that? I bet there is.
Yes, for sure. So, so I guess my parents might laugh at me. So laugh, because I'll laugh with you. All right. So expectations are about, what your child needs to know to successfully engage in activities throughout the day, right? So
Mhm.
every elementary, middle, and high school in Topeka Public Schools has, school-wide expectations as visual reminders about what to do and how to behave in an expectation matrix throughout the school.
Mhm.
We are the Scott Panthers, okay?
Mhm.
So our acronym is ROAR, and it stands for, I wish I could ask them, I wish they could tell me, but they know. So the ROAR, oh, Eloise, is respectful, outstanding citizen, active learner, and responsible. Okay. So everything about wait, I can't. I miss you. Oh, my students, I can't. Okay.
Oh, these parents are so great. We've got Jamie with us now, who we want to move back to Topeka. Hi, Jamie.
That's
Come on
what I'm
back.
saying. I can't.
Poor Jamie, she's
Oh,
tuning in and she's getting harassed to move back to town. But we
she
hope
just,
that family is doing well. And yes,
of
lots
course.
of wonderful friends.
And she just put the roar up. So everything that we do at Scott revolves around our roar, being a respectful, outstanding citizen, an active learner, and a responsible child. So that roar, those 4 words are transformed into what does it mean to be all those things in every common setting in our school, in the classroom, in the hallway, on the bus, in an assembly, in the pod. Our school has pods. As we arrive to school, as we dismiss from school, etc. Right? So here's the awesome thing that you can do as a parent at home. You can decide to create specific behaviors for your home. I feel like, because if you're in Topeka Public Schools or in any other school district that uses CI3T or PBIS, Positive Behavior Intervention Supports, they will have these matrices. So you can use what's already established at your school so you don't have to reinvent the wheel. So when you provide these types of positive behavior supports at home, you can start by deciding between 3 or 5 overall expectations, which might be the same, like I said, from school. And you can identify some settings at your home. So it could be dinner time, or it can be academic. Oh, wait, where is she? I knew it would happen.
It's not a live broadcast until we have somebody's pet. Like, it's just not. So that's great.
Or it could be learning time, or it can be leisure time going for a walk, whatever it may be. Or it could be all of the above, right? Remember, I named all the things? Okay. So you decide what key activities, morning routines, academic blocks, whatever, and you work with your child and the other members of your family, and you think about a few important and positively phrased expectations that are critical for success. So with Amelia, you would decide, what can we put on here? Let's say it's roar, to be respectful at the dinner table, or to be an outstanding citizen at the table, or to be an active learner at the table. And learner doesn't necessarily mean an academic task, or to be responsible. So respectful might be, not playing with the cup or whatnot. And responsible might be not spinning in the chair, but you say staying, like keeping the chair in a fixed position or whatnot, because we don't want to use the not. We want to use positive language.
Okay.
Because responsible, like if she spins too much, she might fall and she might hurt herself, which
Mm-hmm.
is another key part about setting and teaching the expectations.
Mm.
We don't want to just set them.
Mm.
We want to have a conversation about them. Okay. Another example is if you decide to do a section for when we go outside for walks. Instead of listing the don'ts, you list the do's. So instead of saying don't get close to others, you might say stay at least 6 feet away. Or if when we go shopping, well, I don't know if you're taking your kids out to the stores, but okay, so I'm not going to do that one. But if you were talking to your husband, when we go shopping, instead of don't something, be sure to wear your mask or something. I don't know. So once you figure out what the expectations are, the next step is to teach what they look like and practice, explain why they are important, and because you want this to be a productive time for them. For example, hey, Amelia, I want dinner time to be an enjoyable time for all of us. I want you to for the food to, I don't know, just explain it for whatever reason. And if you have a section for learning, because we want you to be ready for when we go back to school, and you point out what they're doing well and pointing out the things that are going well instead of what's going wrong. Okay. And you post the matrices in the corresponding areas of your house. That's it.
I love how concrete that is. That's really actionable ideas for a lot of the parents out there who are struggling. So thank you. I think that's super helpful. Parents, folks who are just tuning in, feel free to post questions or comments in the comment section right below me. In the meantime, we'll keep on trucking. And I wonder if there are some specific thoughts you have about how we can support kids at home. Of course, all this stuff has been about great ways to support kids at home. But do you want to expand on that a bit?
One thing is thinking about their emotional well-being in the, with all these things that I have put out for parents, just thinking about and continuing to work with them with regards to self-awareness. So when kids are struggling in any way, sitting down with them and helping them name or identify their emotions, and just kind of, on the internet there are, a gazillion ways to do that. Some things we use at Scott are little thermometers with inside out characters, and are you feeling this way? Are you feeling that way? With the I can't remember, with the angry and the blue characters. Anyway, we have
It's been too long since we've seen the movie.
I know, right? So I'm blanking on what they're called. But anyway, so it really works when kids are able to name their emotions, and then parents can help process with them, because it becomes less scary. And then you also can gradually, as you talk about it, or as you, if the kid is not ready to, like, I can identify that I'm angry, but then I'm not gonna sit here and process with you right now. It's like, okay, well, that's very important, giving the student or child time to identify and then process in whatever way is best for them. The parents know the child best. And then come back to it in a reasonable amount of time, so that they, again, going back to one of the first things I said is validating and making sure the student feels heard and loved is for sure one of the biggest things that we can do. Another thing is working on self-management, which has to do with impulse control. So counting down or counting up, let's count to 10, let's breathe. And there are also many ways, fun and cute ways of breathing, like rainbow breathing, elephant, like woo. Really, there are many fun and funny and cute ways to breathe that are research based, just like everything I'm telling you. This is not stuff that I came up with or that I'm making up on the fly. This is all research based. So, with impulse control, let's breathe. And it's something that we implement at Scott with our kids, and they start processing and internalizing these things so that they can help themselves, because we want to ultimately create kids who are autonomous and independent and eventually, right?
Yeah, absolutely.
And then something else that, in terms of emotional well-being that that I would like to share is that responsible decision making, which is identifying problems. So once again, is having those conversations. For example, with Amelia, asking her maybe why. Why do you do X, Y, or Z? And helping her process through reasons she might not even has thought about, because it's something that she just does. Like we all do those things. Like, I don't know. Now that you ask me, I might think about it, right? So it's identifying problems and responsible decision making. And those relationship skills, continuing to, like I said, building it in the routines to maintain relationships with people other than the family, because we know those are a little different, right? We behave with our families a little bit different than we behave with people outside of our families, sometimes better with people outside of our families.
Yes. Yes.
So maintaining that social engagement. Yeah. Do we have any questions yet, Laura?
We just continue to have all your fans who think you're awesome talking about that, which is great.
It's if because of their influence.
Exactly. If anybody has questions, feel free to post those in the comments. But in the meantime, we certainly have a lot of, as we've worked with people in the Discovery Center, we have a sense for some of the questions and concerns that parents are having. One program we have here at Discovery Center is Discovery Kindergarten. And of course, you're helping out with that on Saturday. We've got one session of that left. That's a program for incoming kindergarten students. And those are parents who I think are particularly concerned. Again, I'm one of those. But for those parents whose kids are starting kindergarten this year, they're starting school for the first time, and we don't know if that's going to be in person or if it's going to be at the school or if it's going to be less day. We don't know that. And I know you don't know those things either. But even without that information, what are some of the things that you would recommend for parents who are trying to get their kids ready for kindergarten this year?
That's a great question, because around that question, there are a lot of misconceptions about kindergarten readiness. So we could be asking, okay, every kindergartner needs to come in reading and writing every shape, every color, every number. Okay, well, wouldn't that be great? Yes, but no. This is what kindergarten readiness means. Are students ready to learn all those things if they don't already know them? And what does that mean? It means, can a student sit in a classroom and pay attention to a teacher instructing for approximately 15 minutes? It also means, can a student collaborate with a partner, particularly at Scott, but I speak of any setting. Are they ready to have an interaction with another student that they've never met before, and and let it be a productive one without conflict the majority of the time? Can these students tie their shoes? Can these students go to the bathroom independently and find their way around an environment they've never been in, with, after having been shown the environment? And this is, I'm talking about a typical student, of course. Our students with disabilities get the help that they need and the assistance they need, and they receive what they need. So those are the students who are ready to learn. That is kindergarten readiness. So, yes, do they, ideally, are parents reading to them at home so that they have heard a reader modeling what reading and literacy means? So those are what a little child being ready for kindergarten looks like, if they already don't come with letters and numbers and colors and shapes and all those things. So I don't want any parent to feel like, oh my goodness, I have how many minutes to teach all these things to my child? So from there, anything above that is great. The rest we'll take care of.
I love the way you said that. And that's, that feels great as a parent, because yes, I think there is a lot of mythology out there around the idea that kids need to start kindergarten knowing their ABCs and being able to count to a certain amount and being able to know a certain amount of shapes. And of course, those things are helpful. But I really like the way you talked about kids being ready to learn. That ready to learn component is the key thing, and then that the rest can follow. So that's so well put. And I think a lot of parents need to hear that.
Yeah, we have benchmarks by the end of the year. The benchmark is not by the first day of kindergarten. So
yeah. Another question I have, and actually this one is especially about Scott. You've spent so much of your career in dual language education with kids. As we talk about especially young children and learning readiness and what that looks like, I wondered if you could speak at all to what's the value of dual language education for children? Why has that been important for you, and why do you think it's important for our community to have a place like Scott where that's the focus?
Wow.
That's a big question, and we could probably do a whole session on that. In fact, maybe we should. What's the short version, I guess I would say, although we have time here, but what are some thoughts for you on why that's valuable for kids? I know there's so much research out there, but you also have this wealth of experience. You've seen it with kids and families, and you have such loyal families here in the Topeka community that just swear by the work that's happening at Scott. So I wanted you to speak to a little bit about why that's valuable.
Absolutely. There are two sides to this story. So one of them is providing opportunities for Spanish-speaking families to maintain their language, their culture, their heritage. It's that minority culture in a country. It's that is obviously an English-speaking country where typically Hispanic families have been been second-class citizens, or have been discriminated against because of their language and their culture. And here we are empowering them, and we are showcasing the beauty of our language and our culture, and sharing it with native English speakers who want to know it, learn it, and acquire it. So it's a thing of beauty because you know it's 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 the continuation of and a propagation of culture and of language and of continuing to unite families while when we have distance between, you know, generational distance and language between a parent and a student, um, you might find that the parent doesn't have, when they speak only Spanish and the students speak only English, that even the language of love, affection, discipline is lacking. There's a great divide in that family connection. We are continuing to promote and provide that that family unit that is a thing of beauty. On the other hand, we are providing this great opportunity for enrichment to native English speakers who want to put something in their toolbox to become more marketable in the future and more global citizens, because our native Spanish speakers will learn English no matter what. So they already become marketable, and you know, they have a leg up in business or employability. So we're doing that the same thing for our native English speakers. So it's just a beautiful thing. The community and sharing and exchange of cultures is just beautiful. And not only do I know it from my experience at Scott and from my research in my doctoral work, but I am a product of bilingual education in Colombia, South America. So I learned English in Colombia. So it's just a wonderful thing all around.
Wow. You bring so much, you know, I can see why you're such an asset to the school. You bring so much passion to the work that's happening there. And I love that. Man, it's hard not to be excited. That's so contagious when you talk about the beauty and the value of that. We have one fan. I appreciate this. I received a text message from a friend that says, "Green is disgust, red is mad, yellow is joy, purple is fear, and blue is sadness." They were filling in the characters for us. So thank you to my friends who texted the answers for the two of us who clearly have. It's been too long since we've seen the film Inside Out. But yes, that's great.
On my desk at work.
It's good stuff. Yeah. That's great. You know, one other question I have, I know we've come out often, you know, we brought the Mobile Museum out to Scott, do a language magnet before. We've done a lot of play-based activities. We've hosted the kids on field trips. That's been a blast. You really emphasize play and educational play in the school and the importance of that. I wonder if you could speak to that a little bit. Why is play an important piece of education for little kids?
Ooh. Oh, because
I'm giving you all the big stuff here. I just want you to go.
Yes, because okay, so play is dynamic and play is fun and play is you know, it provides choice, and play is something kids like to do. So what best to bring learning into all those components, and kids, you know, they don't realize that they're learning. And it's kind of like that thing, like, drink this juice and it's full of vegetables, but kids don't know it because it tastes like strawberry or whatever. To me, bringing play, you know, learning through play is the same concept. Even though, I mean, to me, learning is like the thing, but they don't need to know that everything is so serious and that learning has to be, you know, this thing that is so rigid. No, like, let's be free and let's, again, it goes back to that choice and that that manipulation of things and discovery and not I'm going to tell you what you're going to learn. It's here's the premise or here's the question. Discover. Kids do that naturally from the moment they start. From the moment they start interacting, the moment they open their eyes is a discovery. So that's how they learn, through discovery and through play. So why not set them up for learning through play? I just love it.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely. That's really well said. And of course, a huge part of our work here at the Discovery Center, we're always trying to get kids to learn and grow through playing and experimenting, trying new things, interacting with new things. That's a big part of our work. And we have loved our partnerships we've had with you and your team over at Scott. That sort of leads me to, and I should say, friends who are still watching at home, and I know we have a number of you, if there are any questions, get those in, because we're getting close to the end of our time. Educators have to be going through a difficult time right now. There's so much uncertainty around what the beginning of the school year is going to look like. The end of the school year was, of course, you had teachers doing amazing work who pretty much had to reinvent an education system on the fly in a matter of days and weeks. I think many parents and just citizens are really feeling like we wish we could do more to support educators in the work you all are doing. Do you have any advice for how we can best support educators, how we can make them feel valued as we start the school year, other than having our kids as ready as we can be, right? How can we support educators in their very difficult work right now as they adapt to all these changes?
Wow. Well, first of all, thank you for asking that question. That means a lot because our teachers are our true heroes. The work they do is phenomenal, and it is hard work, and they do it with their hearts, with their full hearts. I see it. Now they're off, but I've seen it every day. What can parents do? You know what? Just acknowledge what they do. Acknowledge that it's and I know that this pandemic has done that a little bit or a lot, because they now know how truly hard it is. But putting a screen between kids and teachers has been hard and has been heartbreaking, because nothing like the human touch and that connection. So just acknowledge teachers. Let them know that you see them. Let them know that you value them. Let them hear from you. Have your kids show up. I think that is a huge gift, that acknowledgement.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Well, thank you for saying that, and for all the work you're doing and your team is doing to prep for the school year and get things ready for our kids. I think you're 100% right. I think those couple of months of homeschooling are making every parent in America realize how critically important a role of teachers is. I mean, many of us appreciated them before, but we truly had no idea until we ended up trying to do some of those things at home. It was incredibly challenging, and hopefully we can keep reinventing and figure out ways to make it work going into the next school year to get our kids where they need to be. What have we not talked about tonight that you think is really still critical or relevant for parents? What are some closing thoughts you have about setting up for success at home?
I think we've covered everything. I just want to reemphasize the importance of routines, because it is really hard to go from no routines for a teacher to trying to set everything back to some sort of normal when we come back. So that is also something that parents can do for teachers, and it's a huge gift. But thank you. to all the parents. I know that this was sprung on you just like it was on everybody. And I know that without a doubt that every single one of you has been doing the best that you all can do. And I cannot thank you enough because it is really hard. And I know so many of you work, and I cannot imagine trying to do life, family, job, little ones, and Zoom at the same time. So my hat's off to everyone. My forever appreciation. The Crispins need to come back, and also
Hard
um,
agree.
my most heartfelt thank you to KCDC for continuing to partner with me, with us, because I'm a huge fan, and your work is amazing.
Well, thank you. That is very much appreciated. We will sign off for tonight, but of course, those of you who follow us here on Facebook and our other social media platforms know that this is not it. We have a whole wealth of great information for parents and for kids. The best place to find that information is kansasdiscovery.org/home, or if you're looking for those activities in Spanish, please find those at kansasdiscovery.org/casa. Both of those resources are available and stocked with at-home science activities you could do that use things you already have around the house, and more sessions of this Care for Cooped Up Parents, which brings experts in parenting and child development to you. So that's where you can check out Dr. Susan Voorhees, for example, a psychiatrist talking about taking care of yourself and the importance of that. She did a number of those, especially early on during the pandemic, and they're wonderful information about dealing with some intensive behavioral issues and the stress that we deal with as parents. We have Kathy Dameron doing one of these where she did a yoga and breathing exercise and talked about using breathing as your superpower to help bring calm into your life, which for me is very important as a parent and something I have to remind myself of every day. So check out those resources at kansasdiscovery.org/home. If you have suggestions for an expert we should bring on to a future segment, we'd love to hear those. All of our programming has been developed based on your ideas. So you can post those in the comments after you see the video, or send them to us at any time on any of our social media platforms. Instagram, Twitter, we're at Kansas Discovery. And of course, if you're seeing this video, you know where we're at on Facebook and YouTube. So keep staying tuned with us, and good luck, friends. We will see you all another time. Thank you, Dr. Mejía.
Thank you.